Yo. So explain to him what this part is,
So
brother Delon. So
this is the eastern portion of our land. It's about almost 900 feet of fence posts that we got up. We got the corner posts inserted. So the next time we come down here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna start stringing along that barbed wire.
we got a quote for this. It was what? Dude tried to charge us what? 20,
25,000. But if we had cash money on the spot, 20,000.
20,000.
20,000 is good.
So if we did the first part of the land, the front part of the acreage, so we what is this about $5,000 worth?
This is about five thousand
Yeah.
dollars worth of fence line that we got going up right now. So
What did it cost?
$9.99. No, I think about $9.99, but it was about for.
In work, what did it cost for extra? What extra?
Oh man, it just cost us our time. That's it. It cost us 4 hours of our time, a little bit of our energy, a little bit of sweat, not a lot of toil, a little bit of blood. You know what I'm saying? A lot of dirt. But at the end of the day, what we've done here is we've taken the first steps to secure our property, 37 and a half acres worth. What we've done today is we finished out the beginning portions of a foundation that will supersede our lifetime's lineage. So
Go
5 generations from now, they'll come and this land will still be protected by the same fence line that we started.
Peace, world. We back.
Peace.
Another episode. Plot in progress. This is episode number 17. Please like, share, subscribe. Tell all the good people. My name is Kylan Gresham. I'm going to MC this thing tonight. We got a special guest, Mr. Emory Davis, down in Texas. My man
Peace and
raises
blessings.
cattle, and he also produces beef. So this ought to make for a very interesting conversation. I'm going to allow the brother to introduce himself, give us a little background information on him and his profession, his expertise. That's what we here for, to learn more about that, to try to diversify our assets in the community. And that community extends beyond our jurisdictional borders and state lines and country lines at this point. So before we do that, like we always do, want to get into the icebreaker. So we some hip hop heads. You ain't got to date yourself, but I'm assuming you know a little bit about some of the great MCs that are out there in the classic records that are out there. So we always take an opportunity to just kind of highlight either some bars that resonate with us in the name of either ownership, investment, generational wealth, that type of thing. So I'm gonna spit these bars. I think one of y'all gonna get this one because this one is I ain't even gonna get y'all no hint. I'm gonna just get into it. All right. So where I'm gonna start this one. All right. So it says we're gonna start a society within a society. That's major. Just like the Negro League. There was a time America wouldn't let us ball. Those times are now back. Just now called Afrotech. Generational wealth, that's the key. My parents ain't had shit, so that shit started with me. Y'all recognize that one?
Sound like Nas.
Oh, you close.
Jay? Jay?
Yeah, it's Jay.
Oh, okay.
That's
You got it.
legacy. That's legacy.
Was that
from
off
444?
444? Yeah, that's what I was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the legacy joint from 444. That's a dope record, right?
It's called
That's
Legacy.
yeah, Legacy. So a little thing about that. I had the Samsung phone where they sent the download for the album for free. You know, if you had a Samsung phone, and yeah, I jammed that 444 Legacy for a while. I should have known that right off the bat, but yeah.
Yeah, I believe he sampled Donny Hathaway. I think that is that sample that they chopped up on that song.
Okay.
So yeah, it's got a dope vibe. Generational wealth is kind of like the theme of that song right there, like changing the cycle. You know what I mean? And just kind of reinvigorating a new light on the family lineage. So that's dope in all kind of ways. So with that being said, brother Emory, I'm gonna hand the mic over to you. If you could just give us a quick overview of yourself, who you are, where you're from, and what you do.
All right. Well, I'm gonna start out by saying that I service all secondhand vegans, as you can see on the shirt. Secondhand vegan is someone who does eat beef. The cows eat the grass, you eat the cow, so you are considered a secondhand vegan. I started this because I sell my meat at. I'm gonna start from the end and go to the beginning. I sell my meat at farmers markets in the Houston area, and there's a 610 loop, which is kind of like inside of 610 is the Houston proper. And so I sell at farmers markets, and everybody, at a time right around the when we were the pandemic, I would go out, and everybody, oh, well, I'm a vegan. I'm a vegan. I don't eat meat. I'm a vegan. I was like, well, look, my cows are vegan. They're vegetarians, and then I eat the cows. So hey, there started secondhand vegan. So with secondhand vegan, what it means is I do a grass-based forage plan for my cows, meaning that I don't do any corn, cottonseed hull, or Bourgeois. I also don't add any growth hormones or steroids. I don't give those type of shots. I use very minimal antibiotics. If I do use antibiotics, that cow comes out of the natural program and it goes into the commercial program, which I've just started. With that commercial program, I still won't feed corn, cottonseed hull, Bourgeois. Antibiotics will be low. Growth hormones and steroids are still out, and that's the basis of it. I don't want to add that because I don't care what they say. Those trace minerals that you're giving to those cows and animals, I feel that as much meat that we consume, those trace minerals do add up, and they affect us. So I don't want to pass those on through through the residuals onto the meat. So I don't add that to I don't give those to my animals as I grow them. I started out in medical billing, and that's kind of what drew me this way. I was a medical biller, started a medical billing company in Dallas, and I did that because, and I learned like what we eat is what makes us unhealthy. So I wanted to go back to my lineage. Started raising cows on some land that my grandfather owned in Leona, Texas, which is about an hour and a half north of the Houston where I stay. So I would commute, throughout the week, come back to home and work farmers markets on the weekends. And the week I'm down there dealing with my animals and stuff. And so I was able to set up a lease with a guy that went to college with me, and I used his family land, and I was able to bring my herd closer. That's about 20 minutes away from me. So I'm about 20 minutes away from Prairie View, 30 minutes away from Houston. I'm right there in that middle sweet spot right there. As I did that, I was still using different processing plants, going to different areas, trying to get my animals processed. Found a processing plant that was probably about 30 minutes away from me. I worked there. They were looking for somebody to work. I took a job there, made, very little money, but I learned because I had a big issue with processing animals. I was always like, well, where's all my meat? Where's all my meat? And I didn't understand that, as you go through and process an animal, you lose some of that meat to the process. And so working in that environment, I learned more about that. And I got an opportunity to run the processing plant. So I ran the processing plant for 2 years. Kind of had planned to buy it. It didn't work out. The guy sold it to somebody else. But I was able to move I was in a state processing plant. You can in Texas, you can get a state inspected plant or you can be a USDA plant. The state inspected plant is pretty similar to USDA. The only differences would be that where you can sell your meat. With a state inspected plant, you can sell it anywhere within the state of Texas. If they buy it within the state of Texas, you can ship it anywhere in the United States. With the USDA plant, you can sell it, ship it, buy it anywhere in the United States. You can sell it to a retailer. With a state inspected plant, you can't sell it to a retailer outside of the state of Texas. But with USDA, you can. So I was able to move to a USDA plant. I had customers that were working with me at the state plant, came over with me. So I was also able to afford them dates to be processed. And the real important part about this when I got into this was that I wanted to make sure I bought into the farm to table, meaning that farmers, ranchers grow produce, animals, process them, and are able to directly distribute them to the public because that's traceability. A big thing for me was food traceability, being able to trace that food back to where it came from, the origins, and not adding those additional additives, like I said. And so, like I said, I was selling at farmers markets. I spread to it's a few smaller niche stores who are coming up that started around the same time I did. I was able to get into those. It's two in Houston, one in the Dallas area. I go to Dallas. I do an event in Dallas. It's called Beer and Burgers, to where I just I cook up a lot of burgers, buy, get beer, and people come through. Social event, you can look at the products that I have. They're able to buy, order stuff pre, and I'll bring it to Dallas. They can buy stuff while they're there. But the beer and the burgers is kind of like my marketing thing to get people to come in, check out what I have, and grow and develop. And I kind of want to open up that Dallas market a little more. So, like I said, I do farmers market stores, and then I also ran the processing plant, and I'm still very involved in the processing aspect of the animals. Meaning that, like, I bring in new customers. I have a packet to where I give a people a cut sheet. It shows them, how do you want your meat cut up, and that's how we're going to cut it up. I give them an informational packet on if you want to purchase a cow from me. If you want to buy a fourth a cow, half a cow, or a whole cow, then I'll tell you how much freezer space you need. Also on that informational packet, it'll tell you how long does it need to defrost. How long will it keep in your freezer, and I give that out. And then also I go through. I assure people that the butcher is not stealing your meat. And I have a pamphlet that shows, hey, when they harvest that animal, the head weight, the hoof weight, the skin, the hide, and the innards, you lose that weight. So if you bring in 1,000-pound animal, this is why you get 460 pounds, 480 pounds worth of meat, because you're not eating the head, you're not eating the insides, you're not eating the hide, you're not eating the hooves. And so those are things that come off. Then also through the aging process, a lot of people want their cow aged for 10 to 14 days, some even more. So during that process, you lose a little weight, and so I explain that to them to where they don't have those same concerns I had when I started. Where's my meat? And I want them to be informed on the process and how the process goes through. And so that's kind of like where I am, a little history behind it. Like, my grandfather started me out in this. When I was young, he bought me a cow and he bred it, and every year we would sell the calf, and I would use that to get things for the following school year. And so I did that for a while. I was into it, and I kind of ran away from agriculture. I went in, like I said, I got a degree in health. I taught for a while. I did medical billing, and then I just came back to agriculture. So now I'm back in agriculture. I have a nice little herd, about 26 cows. Um, like I said, I have a little lease land, 50 acres. I'm still looking to purchase my own. I want to purchase my own, as well as establish my own, homestead. And also, I'm looking to do a processing plant. So I'm going to open a processing plant up of my own. I'm not buying it from anyone. I'm not going to lease it from anyone. I'm going to open up my own processing plant where I'll be able to process and kind of control a little more of what goes on with my product. So that's a little history about me, and the beef, how I kind of got into beef production.
Wow. Yeah, you said a lot. Even considering like how you explain how you kind of like section off portions of the cow. Those are the type of things that people like myself, I don't even think about stuff like that, right? I'm so conditioned in just going to the store, picking up a slab of meat, whatever that cut is, but seldom do we think about that process. So that is very insightful. And considering that, I would imagine that this is kind of like a full circle thing for you, right? Because you mentioned your grandfather kind of put you into it. It gave you that early exposure. You ran away from it. And I think for our demographic, there's been a lot of that historically. Quick story: my grandfather was in construction for a long time, and my father and my uncle, they used to help him out on job sites when they were like, mid like teenagers, and
Mm-hmm.
they were like doing that stuff like every other day for the most part. But as soon as they got the chance, they ran away from that stuff and they didn't look back. You know what I mean? And I think we're seeing a lot of that now, whereas a lot of our professions, tradesmen especially, I think for
Mm-hmm.
every 7 tradesmen that retire, there's only one to replace them. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's a testament of like some of these lost sciences and arts and skills that used to be so abundant in our communities, and now it's so out of sight, out of mind for us because everything is facilitated to us, it's streamlined
Yep.
to us. I mean,
It is.
you know, you can get everything at the press of a button at your doorstep, and people are not thinking about what goes into the production of getting that product at your front door. So I appreciate that particular insight. Um, as far as raising cattle and getting it to the point where you're actually producing beef, what, how difficult is that? What does that look like? Let's say you have, from the point that this animal is born, what it takes for you to, nurture it and assist it into proper growth, and like how difficult is that process to get it to the point where it's like a viable source for food? What does that look like?
Okay, so first, kind of touch back on some things that you said. How you say everything is streamlined to us not understanding. There's something that I keep in the back of my mind. I saw it on social media. Was a young lady made a comment to my. I don't know why everyone is. I don't know why all the farmers are tripping. You can get everything you need from a grocery store. Meaning, she didn't even understand that the grocery store is supplied by farmers and ranchers, and so that was kind of part of the reason why I do what I do, because I want people to understand, hey, look, everything is just not shipped in a box. People actually raise these cows. And in going into this, I'm going to tell you two phases. First, understanding like it does take about 3 years to take a cow from gestation to processing. And so that means like that cow's, the heifer has to be bred, and then the heifer then becomes a cow once it has the calf. The calf has to be raised. First 4 to 5 months is going to be on its mom. You wean it off its mom. You start putting it on a grass ration. It starts eating grass. Things that I feed is Bahia, Coastal. I do alfalfa pellets. I do an alfalfa treat every now and then. I try to do other things other than fillers to feed, because I want them to get nutrition out of the grazing that they do. I'm in the process of right now setting up a pasture rotational pattern to where I can cut off parts of the pasture from the cows at certain parts of time to let that grass regenerate. Because the taller your grass, you want at least be 12 inches. That top 6 inches is going to have most of the nutrients. So after they eat off that top 6 inches of it, you want to rotate them to another pasture, let that grass grow, because you got to understand, the deeper the roots, the better the grass. And once you chop that grass down to where it's real low, those roots shrink it as well. So you want that tall growth on top to where your roots will go deep, they'll get that nutrients, and you want to fertilize, you want to add back to your soil. So I tell people I don't really raise cows, I grow soil. I grow a healthy soil to where it grows a healthy forage, to where then it can feed the cows and give them a healthy diet to where they can gain weight. So now after that weaning process, that's where the cow starts to gain most of its weight, starts to get its conformation. So you want to make sure that they have good legumes to eat. They want to make sure that they have good grass to graze on, dry forage as well, hay, things like that, and water. They go through that period. That'll be from that 5 to 6 months up to about 18 to 24 months. That's when I start looking at them to see, are they in a good condition to go ahead and process them? What type of meat will they produce? Usually, so in producing a cow, and then we're going to go into the cut sheet. So 20% of that meat, of that weight, is going to be ground meat. So out of a 400-pound cow, you have 100 pounds worth of ground meat, things like that. Then if you want to look at the top part, well, the front the front part of the cow, you have your brisket, which that's a Texas thing. Brisket in the front. You have your chuck roast, So the chuck roast can be cut into a chuck steak or a 7 steak, like they say in Louisiana. Then you have your shoulder roast or your shoulder steak. Then you have your neck bones, or you can clean the neck bones, use that as ground meat. Then you'll have your ribeyes. The ribeyes. So you have your tomahawk is a ribeye with the long rib bone. Then if you cut that off, you can have your cowboy ribeye steak, and then your ribs. And then if you cut the bone off of it, that's where you have your ribeye, where it's only the meat. And then you have your ribs, and then you clean it up and you use that as ground. So that now you have your breast, your your brisket, which is your breast, your chuck, your shoulders, your ribeyes, your ribs. So that's the fore part of the cow. Then you want to drop to the hind quarters where you get your tenderloin, which is kind of like a back strap on if you deer hunt or anything like that. You have your tenderloin where you have the whole tenderloin, or you can cut it up into fillets, which is like the Del Frisco, the filet mignon. That's what it was. So that's the filet mignon, the small circles. Then you have your T-bone. So your T-bone is actually three cuts in one. The T-bone, you have your porterhouse, which is the T-bone in a large portion of the tenderloin. So you have your T-bone, you have your porterhouse, which is a large portion of the tenderloin. As the tenderloin gets smaller, it becomes a T-bone. And then if you cut that bone out, you can have your tenderloin as well as your New York strip. So I kind of remind people and let them know as they're getting their cow cut up, you're either going to have T-bones or you're going to have strips, New York strips, and tenderloin fillets. Or we can do an A and a B side to where you can cut half the cow up where you have T-bones and fillets, and the other half, T-bones, and the other half you'll have New York and fillets. So then after that, you have your rump roast. The front part of your rump roast is where your sirloin comes from. That's like the last steak. If you go through the cow, the sirloin is the last steak right before you get to the rump roast, and that's where you get to your roast, your rounds, and things like that. So you have your rump round, your round roast, your round round roast, tip roast, Pikes Peak. Those type of things are all in the rump portion of the cow. And then you go down, you have your ossobuco, which is a soup bone with a lot of meat, or you'll have the marrow bone cut as a canoe bone. And I kind of display that. Ossobuco will be cut in horizontals like this. So you have a section like this, excuse the arm. And then the French, where they take the marrow bone, the straight bone, they cut it like this, split it in half, put the salt and pepper, butter on there, you put it on the grill, and they scoop and eat out the marrow. That's more of a French thing. Don't do it a lot in Texas, but every now and then I have somebody want to try it and we'll cut it up like that. So that's kind of like a quick display of how a cow goes from gestation weaning all the way through to processing in the different cuts. Little parts that I missed out in there is you can age the cow. You either want to do it for 10 to 14 days. That's kind of where the enzymes kind of work with the meat. It makes the meat tender, gives you that steakhouse type taste, out of the steakhouse taste out of your freezer, where you can get that taste straight out your freezer. We age it, and it changes the flavor profile. It tastes more meaty and hearty. What you get in the grocery store, they'll do those cows within a day. They're going to bring that cow in. They're going to harvest it. They're going to harvest it with your slaughter, process it. They're going to hang it. It will hang for maybe 48 hours, but then they're cutting it, packaging it up, putting it in plastic, and sending it to the store. And so that's why you have that metallic taste in the meat that you get from the grocery store. But this meat has a more meaty, heartier meaty taste. And so that's the difference between going through a processor, getting your own cow process, or buying from someone who sells at farmers markets.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Um, we use this opportunity to welcome my brother, Delon. He's another member of the Growth Spot. Um, Brother Emory is dropping some knowledge on the beef process and what that looks like, spelling it out for us. Did you have any particular questions or any comments? Anything you wanted to chime in on, Brother Delon? You there, bro? Okay, he might be. It looks like he might be having a technical issue there. Just chime in when you're ready, bro. If you can hear me. Um, so let's talk about like the demands, right, for beef. I read some quick stats on like beef demands, and correct me if I'm wrong, but based on what I'm reading here, it looks like over the last 2 decades, the total like beef production has fluctuated a little bit. For the most part, it stayed pretty stable, and it appears that I think over the last 2 years there was like a slight decline, and some people are kind of speculating on whether that decline is going to persist or if it's just an indication of another fluctuation. Now, considering all the different options that are available now, in terms of obviously you have poultry and all these different types of meat, but now you got this vegan meat, right? You got all these created I don't even know what to call it. They're emulating what meat would be in the
Mm.
form of a processed composite of stuff, right? Anything from soy, pea protein. They're packing a lot of stuff in there, and a lot of people are subscribing to that because there's been a wave of veganism, especially with Black Americans, by way of many influential people as of late. Um, what is your take on that? And is it healthy to eat that stuff?
All right. So you kind of brought up a couple things. First, to just my take on that is how much do you have to do or put into a plant to make it look like meat?
Mm.
You know, and that's my biggest thing. Then you want to go back to where this all started. This substitute meat. It started out with tofu, but a lot of people don't know that part of the process of making tofu is putting in the collagen from an animal.
Mm.
So that's part of the bonding of the tofu is that collagen from an animal. So that's another issue that people are like, oh yeah, I'm a meat substitute, but you're still using animal byproducts. I It's gonna, everybody has an option. America is free commerce, so if you come up with something, you sell it, you can sell it. I mean, they've been selling us poison. Hot Taki chips, if you look now, the big thing is they talk about how much stuff in the United States is banned in other countries. So us being consumers, and I'm talking about this, the whole United population, us being consumers, we're gonna buy and try anything once. I think for the most part, people will go back, or people are gonna always want meat. That's that primal instinct of us and the way we're designed. We need meat. It's where we become over consumers of all things is the biggest problem. And that's kind of like something that I started out when I was growing my cows and harvesting them. Grass-fed cows don't grow as fast. I don't give them the antibiotics and growth hormones. So it means when I'm selling you a steak, it's not that 26-ounce steak. It's going to be more comparable to what we should consume in one setting. It may be a 16 to 18-ounce steak. We should do about 10 to 12 ounces, but it's not going to be that double the size. Some of them are going to be around 10 to 12 ounces. So in doing grass fed and growing them, I want to look at giving people what they need and not what they want. Your steak, you're going to get a good steak. It's going to taste good, but it's not going to be as big as your plate. You know, um, So I think that's a benefit of what I do. And then also just the way I grow the cows, it's going to taste more. Like I show people when I do hamburger meat, which is going to be the easiest thing for them to duplicate. If I put a hamburger patty in the pan that's about this big, that's what you're going to get out the pan, because it doesn't shrink. Your ground meat comes from your cow. We trim off a lot of the fat and we grind meat. Like I was talking about the cuts earlier. Let's say we're going through and we have a ribeye that's too small and doesn't make the cut. Then that becomes ground meat. The small piece of the tenderloin that doesn't make the cut, that becomes ground meat. So we just don't use the scraps and things like that to make ground meat. We use the trimmings off of quality cuts to make your ground meat, and we trim off. I tell people my fat to meat ratio is around a 87-13, not a 90-10 and not a 85-15, but right up in there. I can, we hand trim it, and we try to make it to where you're not just frying fat or cooking fat and it shrinks down. We want you to have a lot of your meat. It's your meat. So I say that to say, I just think people will always, those who eat meat, those secondhand vegans will always be those secondhand vegans. They're going to look for a better quality meat because that's the big thing, and that's the niche market that keeps me going because my clientele and my customer base is looking for the best quality meat they can get at a good price and not have to, the healthiest meat they can get. If they're going to meet, I have a friend that has gout and he said he can eat my ground meat and does not have a flare up. So that's a testament of that being a healthy cow, you giving that person a healthy product and they're being able to implement it into their healthy diet. And so that's just my thing. If you give a good healthy meat, then you don't have to compete with a good healthy so-called filler or substitute meat. And Mr.
Got it.
Quando,
Quando,
you
you
said
got a
you had.
question, bro?
Yeah, I had a question. So, what was some of the biggest challenges initially getting started? Was it buying the land first, or was it after you bought the land, and was it buying a cow first? Like, how much does a cow cost, or did you buy a male and a female and just start mating them, and then they created the whole colony, and then, or what are some of the biggest challenges?
All right, so that's a good question. The biggest challenges and how did I start out with the cows? So first and foremost, I am an oddity. It's not a lot of African American farmers. Then within the farming community, I'm a young buck. And I'm right at 50. And the average age of farmers is like 68 to 70. So I'm me being African American and being a little younger. I got looked at strange. What are you doing? What you want to do? And like I say, I ran away from it, so I was kind of jumping back into it. So a lot of people like, oh, you don't know what you're doing, but in the background, I do this every other weekend in the summer, but I just didn't. It wasn't my forefront thing. So in just letting people understand that I have a little knowledge about it. Going back to school at 38, 40. Yeah, going back to school at 38, that was kind of rough. I've been in this 6 years, and I worked on my second bachelor's of science degree, and ag business. That was the hard part. I cheated on the land. My grandfather had some land, so I started out there using his land. Then also I was able to get a lease. So I haven't bought my land as of yet. I'm using the lease land in the Prairie View area, which is pretty close to me. That was pretty easy. Understanding where and how I was going to process cows, that was a difficult part. But I was able to get into that. Everything has kind of worked out for me. Cow purchases, I started out with buying 3 heifers. And keep in mind, I wanted to process and sell meat, but I bought 3 young heifers, good stock and everything, and I was going to get a bull and breed. And I was talking to this guy at a weaning sale. So a weaning sale is where people will take their conditioned cows and they'll take them to the sale and they'll sell them in large groups. My first one never knew, went in there, thought I was going to be able to buy me a couple of cows, and I saw they were selling 10 to 12 cows, at let's say 10 to 12 cows at about $200 a piece. So that's $2,400. I go in there with $600-700, but you had to buy the whole group. And so I saw this guy. He was a younger guy, and I was like, man, you just bought that group. I like some of them calves. Can I buy some? And he tried to send me down. And yeah, just go tell him what numbers you want. You pay for them, you can have them. I said, well, no, I want to kind of really know. I want to buy them from you. I'll come out to your farm, where you from, and I'll pick them up. So he happened to be not too far from Leona, where I was growing my cows. I went out there and I saw him. He filling up an 18-wheeler. He had somebody come out there filling up an 18-wheeler where he'd buy those weaned cows, let them graze, gain weight, and then he would sell them to a feedlot. And so that was he was more or less, he weighs weaned cows to weight to be bought. And he was telling me, I guess he had kind of thought about what I had told him, what I was doing, things like that. And he said, man, so you're going to, like I was telling you earlier, it takes about 3 years. He said, you're going to breed those cows. You're going to have the calves. Hopefully you don't, you have all 3, raise the cows. That's going to take you about another 1.5 years, 2 years. And so it's going to be 3 years before you can do anything. Why don't you bring me 2 of those heifers you have, and I'm going to give you 4 steers. And we did a trade. And he said, because those steers, you can you can just get gain weight on them and process them. So it's going to cut your wait time to have a product in half. And so he was beneficial to helping me do that. And so in talking about the cows, I bought that first 3 cows. I paid 1700 for them. About 500 a piece, right around there, 525, 500 a piece, something like that. They were Angus Molly, Hereford mix, Angus Hereford mix. They were good breed, but I had to buy all three. He had a group sale, and so I did, and I wanted them all three. That kind of what started me off. But him telling me about, hey, get some steers. This is what you need to do. This and that. That's kind of was a light bulb in my head. Like, okay, so I'm going to talk to other people that have these steers that are finna take them to the auction sale and tell, hey, I'll buy them from you. And so that's what I started doing, buying young steers. Did buy some cows and heifers. Like I come across deals. The cheapest cow I ever bought was a Jersey Holstein cow, which is really a milk cow. And I heard people talking about, those cows, they have good meat. The meat quality is tender and this and this and that. And I had an Angus bull, which is kind of like on the higher end of cattle, cattle breeding. So I said, I'm going to try that because you got to remember, agriculture is the first science. The first science of agriculture. So I kind of look at what I'm doing as an experiment. So I put that bull with that cow, and she gives me a calf every year. I paid $250 for that cow. So you got to think about it. If I process a calf at about 1,000 pounds, so you're gonna get about 400 pounds, 450. Then you multiply that times 650 a pound. So that's $2,400. Off of a cow that I paid $200 off of, and she gives me a calf every year. And all I'm doing is letting that calf graze out, give it a little supplemental feed and stuff, and get it up to weight, and then take it to a processor. Which, depending on the weight, I pay $1.75 to $2 a pound to get it processed. So you can yield out about, let's say, $1,800 after you put in your feed costs and stuff like that. And it came off a $200 cow. And so it's about your breeding process. You want to make sure that you breed around the right time. You want to try to cut down your feed costs. The more that you can have them graze and not have to buy hay, that's always beneficial, because now that's not an added cost that you're putting in there, and that doesn't, because you have the land. And so now you want to divide the land up with every cow that you have. So that splits the cost of the land to every cow. Then the cow has a kid, that splits the cost of the land down. So that's not feed cost. So you just want to keep your overhead down, like in any business. Keep your overhead down. In agriculture, it's easy to do if you are a good steward of the land, in which I've seen y'all starting out with the fencing and stuff like that. But yeah, if you're a good steward of the land, then it's easy to cut down your costs, because you're going to grow a good legume, a good grass, to where your animals can graze and forage and gain weight for the most efficient way possible. And that's what you want to do. So that's kind of like the pitfalls, like I said, that I've had is just each stage has been a learning experience. I've paid for this education not only through the university, but through when I started that processing plant. It was an older processing plant. I contributed a lot to getting the machinery up, making sure the machinery was running, maintenance of the machinery, stuff like that. So that was a pitfall. I threw a lot of money in there thinking I was going to recuperate once I bought the plant. I signed bad contract, and that's what I waged it on. I was so enthusiastic about having my own plant. I didn't really guard myself in different aspects of, what if this guy wants to sell his plant? He told me, yes, he was going to do these things. He even wrote them up, but I didn't get it notarized. I didn't file it with the county, but I learned now. I learned about business. I learned about things I need to do. And so I look at it as a growing experience. How to transition from a state plant to a USDA plant. It's very similar, but there are some differences. So I went through that as a learning experience. I picked up on that aspect of it. And doing everything on my own. So like right now, I raise the cows, I process, I raise the cows. I do have a team that works at the processing plant that processes them, but then I sell at the farmer's market. But then I have payroll for the processing plant. Then I have to take in the cows. I have to collect payment from those that want cows done, from those that need me to sell them cows, sell them meat. I have to schedule out, we took this cow in, they wanted aged for 14 days. We need to cut it up on this day. I got to make sure that we have all the supplies that we need to vacuum seal it, because we vacuum seal and freeze everything. I have to make sure that I'm meeting all the standards of the state. At that time, the state needs you to do X, Y, Z. You can't hurt the animal before you kill the animal. So you got to make sure that everything is in proper arrangement to where the animal can't hurt itself before you stun it and you harvest it. So it's just all that. That's another downfall. I didn't understand about sizing up your company, and also working on your company. I worked in my company a lot, and I didn't work on my company. So now I went through a program, the Acres program. It's helping minorities in agriculture get to be able to fit into those larger supply chains. And so I've learned a lot from that program. They work through the let me see, I'm gonna tell you the acronym right quickly. The Who's the Acres program? Acres. And the lady is Miss Amber Amber Smith, and she was real beneficial. It's NMSDC, which is the National Minority Supply and Distribution Chain, and so they helped me a lot with understanding how to scale up my company, how to work on my company, how to get those different certifications that you want to look at through SBA. You want to look at getting your SAMS number, your cage ID, and all these things benefit you in growing, because you're able to get more of those larger contracts through institutions and those, like prisons, schools, all those. You can get those contracts to those larger institutions if you have all these, if you have that certification and you have those different numbers and are part of those different programs. So it's been on. My downfalls are always, I always try to turn them into learning experiences, and it's been a few of them. I can go on and on about it. It's been a few of them, but those are just a few of them that I've kind of gone through.
Brother Delon, you got a question, bro, or a comment? Anything you want to chime in on? Oh, I can't hear you.
Still
No
can't.
audio. What about now? Try it again. Yeah, we got no audio on your
If he
side, bro.
can he text it in the private chat, and I'll try to
Yeah,
answer
yeah.
it.
Drop your question in the chat, and I can ask it. Hey, I do want to throw something out real quick. You mentioned about what you're really doing is like being a good steward of the land by taking care of the soil. Can you talk a little bit about the science of how raising cattle appropriately is beneficial for the soil? I know a lot of the products that are produced now, they're stripped of nutrients due to the fact that that soil has been monocropped, and they're stripping the nutrients from the soil, so you kind of get like an empty product in a sense. So when you rotate, and correct me if I'm wrong, but when you rotate those crops appropriately, you ensure that the soil is legitimate and good enough to produce like an optimal crop and feed for your cow. So can you break that down real quick? Like what does that mean to actually reinvigorate the soil based on how you're raising the cattle?
All right, so like I kind of touched on earlier about the pasture rotation. So starting out with that, the pasture rotation, you don't have your animals in one area and allow them to overgraze, because that's kind of what strips the soil. When you overgraze and the soil doesn't have any coverage on it, then that creates that barren landscape. With that coverage, uh, that kind of protects the soil. Like I was talking about, how the grass, as tall as it grows up, the root system will grow. That adds to the soil. Different crops, like you were saying, legumes, they'll put that potassium back into the soil. Lime is important for the soil. Um, if you ever know anyone who does the chicken hoop houses, try to set up with them to possibly get that as a fertilizer for the soil. The cows, they compact it. They compact the soil, and so that also helps grow. You think, oh, it's going to be compact, it's going to be hard, but that also helps the root systems, because the roots, as long as you have a good forage, it's going to break through that. It's going to go through the soil and break it down. It's going to be a food for those microorganisms that are going to work in the soil. Those microorganisms also come from the dung or the waste of the cows. Something real funny to me is people want to blame me, me, want to blame climate change on methane gas, but I don't know how they look at that and do a reasonable comparison, because at one time there were a lot more cows than there are now, but there was a lot less concrete, cars, and buildings. But they don't want to factor that into contributing to methane gas. There's less surface area for that to be absorbed into the earth because we have concrete everywhere. We have cars that are contributing to methane gas. We have these buildings. Right now, in between where I am and where the processing plant was that I ran, for the first year that I worked out there, it was all ranch land, farmland. I would see cows in the pasture. I take that same trip now, it's nothing but neighborhoods and houses being built. And, so they're taking away, that's soil, that's land, that's green space that would contribute to positively to the circle of life, Earth. But now they've built houses, homes. They're going to put a couple 100,000 people over there that breathe, fart, drive, and produce methane gas. But they're going to say that guy over there had 150 cows, and they're going to say these 1,000 people produce less methane gas than those 150 cows, where all they did was eat and graze. And like I said, that manure, not just having the cows manure in those areas, but you want to drag those pastures where you spread that manure out and it's able to get back into the soil. Sometimes you'll see those big patches on the soil, and if it sits there, it'll burn because manure is hot. It has a lot of nutrients condensed into that little one plop. Excuse my French. But you want to drag it, to where you spread it out, let the rain resonate and get through it, and it'll leach it into the soil. So that's how you add back to the soil through manure distribution. Not just leaving it. You want to drag those fields. Just get something heavy, put it behind your four-wheeler, your tractor, whatever, and just drive through the fields and just break up those manure packs and things like that. And that's what gets those microorganisms going. The cows chewing the grass, some of that falls out of their mouth. That starts microorganisms growing, and then rotating will keep it, like I say, keep them from eating it all the way down. So cows can be any grazing animal can be beneficial to that pasture. And then also, like you do that pasture rotation, you have good grass in one area, what they eat, and they're going to disperse that over there, and that's going to have grass seeds in it. So that'll keep all your pastures, as long as you keep good grass in there, they'll be able to germinate and keep your pastures good pastures. Instead of
No doubt. Yeah, I think that was Delon's question about the soil. So, yeah, I
yeah.
think we knocked that out. And I'm glad you brought up the point about the methane gas. That's something that I was going to ask you about, because I've heard that theory. And at this point, climate change, there's so many different theories about climate change. At this point, who knows? I'm the furthest thing from like a scientist, so I'm not even going to pretend like I know.
You're in
Um,
agriculture, you're a scientist.
to an extent, I'll say that. Now, what extent that is, we ain't gonna say, but it's not on the higher end of that spectrum. I'll just say that. I'll indicate myself in that manner. But no, I appreciate you touching on that, because it's those type of narratives that are being driven with particular motives, right? By special interest
Mhm.
groups and things of that nature, because they want to shift certain industries certain ways. We've seen a history of that um,
What
in,
better
in
way
this
to get
nation.
your plastic meat out than to say the real meat is dangerous to our environment?
Ooh, yeah, you spitting now. You cooking with grease now, bro. Now let me say this. Now I asked you about the vegan meat earlier. I want to make myself clear. I am not banging on the vegetarians, the vegans. Look, peace to
Oh, right.
y'all. Do
No,
your thing. You know what I'm saying? I just want to make that clear because I don't know how that sounded when I asked you if it had a certain connotation to it. But I have a level of skepticism with things that are especially like super processed like that.
Hmm.
I just raise
And
my
like I tell people,
eyebrows.
yeah, and like I tell people, it's not. I'm not trying to convince you to change the way you want to, the way you want to be. I just want to show you and offer you a healthier red meat alternative. If you're gonna do it, you're talking. Well, I want a red meat alternative. Well, okay, I'll give you a healthier red meat alternative. It's grass fed. I'm not putting antibiotics in it. So yeah, it's a healthier red meat. It's a healthier red meat, and that's even with anything. Like even with the goats, lambs, and pork. Pigs that graze out and they're not giving all that corn, cottonseed hull. That's even better. You gotta understand. That's where we grew up. Well, that's what we ate. And through slavery and coming up, we ate it from the beginning to the end, rooted to the tooted, like they say, and didn't have all these health issues because after we ate it, we went and exercised. It may not have been on our own will and accord, but we were exercising. And if we continue that lifestyle, yes, a lot of us work behind a computer, but then if you want to eat, good meat and stuff like that, you have to also take care of your body. You want to still be active. Stop paying somebody to cut your yard, mow your own yard. Just walk to the mailbox instead of driving to it when you come home in the evening. Just little different things like that. Just add to your active lifestyle, and then you don't have to eat plastic meat if you don't want to. You know. So
You
that's
keep
just my.
calling it plastic meat. You keep calling it plastic meat. That's just fucking me up, man. Like,
Now,
I mean, a printer. What else is a printer putting out? You know,
right,
ink or
right, right,
one of the.
right.
yeah, that's
Yeah. So
that's
that, I mean,
that's
but that's just
enlightening.
my feelings on it. That's just my feelings on it.
Nah, I'm with you. Any other questions, brother Delon? Are you back with us, bro?
Yeah, I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Oh shit, took me only 50 minutes. Well, again, man, I appreciate you dropping all of these jewels, Emory, man. This has been hella informative. I did want to circle a little bit back again to the soiling and the cattle grazing. So about how much acreage or how much land is sufficient for your cattle to be able to graze from one place to the other, and how long before they then circle back to where they started? Like, is it you go from one place to another to another? Is it a time frame? Like, how does that whole process work with cattle grazing?
All right, so we'll start with the grass. You want to let your grass rest for 20 to 30 days, in between each section. So if you have, let's say, so right now I have 40 acres. I like to split it up in about 10 acre lots. And so I let them stay on each section for about 10 days. So 10 days, 20 days, 30 days. By the time they get back around, the one they were on has kind of regenerated and rejuvenated. So that's the growth cycle. So you want to look at the growth cycle of your forage, and that will determine how you rotate your cows. Also, how much forage you have growing tall can can regulate how many cows you can have. If you don't have a lot of grass growing tall, you have small grass, then that's going to cut down what they call your unit per acre. AU, AUA, animal unit per acre. And so that's like right now, they say a cow calf is to every 2.5, 3 acres. But if you have more grass, like if your grass is taller, then you can put every acre and a half. You can put a cow calf on every acre and a half, and now that means you can have one or two more cows than what you could have at the beginning. So the better
All over
grass
like
and better
12
forage you
inches.
have, right? The better grass, the better forage, more load, animal load that you can hold on that area. I'm unique in the fact that I rotate animals a lot, meaning that once an animal gets to a certain weight and certain age, then it's going to the processing plant. Then I'm bringing in a smaller, lighter animal that's not going to consume as much for a period until it gets up to weight. So you got to look at that. What is your program and what is your plan with these animals? Some people they do them to do calf operation, meaning that you're going to breed these cows every year, take these calves, load them up, and sell them as a whole. Some people, like I say, I do it where I process what I need at that time. So I do a rotational type thing. So those are different things that affect how you rotate, how long you keep them on each pallet, and kind of how. So okay, to answer your basic question is, look at 2 acres for every cow. 2 acres for every cow.
Um, so then the grass that they are foraging on, is it what's native to Lorraine where you live? You said Lorraine?
Yeah, I'm using no. I'm in Texas, Prairie View, Texas, and so
Okay,
it's
Prairie.
a Mahia grass grows a lot, coastal
Mm-hmm.
grass that grows a lot out this way, and so that's what they graze on. Native grasses. I haven't done any pasture pasture improvements yet. Mean I haven't gone through done any herbicides to take out the weeds. I haven't done any fertilization or anything like that. So it's all natural native grasses as of right now is what I let them graze on. I do want to
Can
do pasture improvements because right now I'm going through NRCS, which is a program that you're able to go through. If you want to look that up, NRCS, they'll give you a farm number and they'll assist you. Like you're doing that perimeter fence, they'll give you, because you're African American, they'll give you 80% of your money back for your cross fencing, meaning the fencing that divides it. They'll reimburse you. You do the They're gonna come out. They're gonna show you. Okay, yeah, you put a fence here. You put a fence here. We can help you dig a well over here. This is how we want you to do it. These are the specifications. We'll reimburse you X amount of dollars a foot and X amount of dollars a gallon for how big your tank is. So
mm,
what you want to do is you want to go in, look at your labor costs, like how y'all did that fence. That's the best way to do it. But put a monetary value on that, turn those receipts in, and you'll get reimbursed for your time as well as the material that you bought.
brother, you just opened up a whole nother segment, man. Because do you have are you like a registered farmer? Maybe I missed some of this in the beginning, but like, are you registered? Do you receive any
I
kind of grants? Can you talk about that aspect of it?
so
Like, if
I
for
okay so
people really quick, let me frame that a little bit better for people that are listening to this. If you purchase land, I own land, and I'm ready to buy a couple cows, what would be the next logical steps to making me an official farmer that would allow me to be able to use things like the NRCS, be eligible to get other grants, and things of that nature?
So first thing, like I said, first thing I would do is go to NRCS. You have the land. Go to NRCS. Tell them, hey, I have this land. I want to check and see if it already had a farm number, or can you assign me a farm number. So once they assign that farm number, then you become part of the demographic. And that means they're going to ask for you to do reports. You'll do a conservation. You'll be part of the conservation where they'll see if you have any easements that can wash away. How can you trap water? They'll do a whole evaluation on your land. They'll tell you, okay, yeah, this is what's good to grow here. This is what we can help you with. You can get
Mm,
into the equip program, which is they'll help you get like I say, the cross fencing. Uh, they'll help you do well water tank, get you water on your land. Do they need to dig a well? Do they need to dig a pond? Those type of things. They'll look at doing that, and it's a reimbursement type thing. So you will put up a little money at the front, but like I say, anybody who registers gets a reimbursement. But if you are African American, you get a little more because we're underserved, underutilized population. So they give us a little bump to kind of help us catch up because we've been held back so long. Also, they track. They know, okay, what are you gonna produce? Then when you start saying you're gonna produce cows, they'll look at different things, like you'll be registered for. Let's say they have a drought. Then because you're part of it and you've been registered and you filled out all your paperwork every year, oh, you have X amount of acres, you have X amount of cows, there's a drought, oh, you've had to pay X amount of dollar extra for hay, here's a check. They'll send you mailbox money, you know. because of different conditions and stuff. If there's a drought condition, they'll send you mailbox money. If there's a big fire that burns up a lot of stuff, they'll send you, money to help you recoup from that. And so I tell people they hide a lot of money in agriculture, and it's because of the different little programs that they have and stuff like that. And it's about reading and seeing where you fit in, having a good relationship with the FSA office, which is the Farm Service Agency. That's where you can get some loan services. You have a farm number, they're producing. They'll help you get money to buy tractors, equipment and stuff like that. If you go through FSA, so you want to look at that. And so that's kind of like how you start out. And then just the more you want to do a lot of CEUs, those continued education courses through the universities, any university that's close to you. Look for your extension agents. Um, that should be something that they do through the 1890 project. It was where they set up universities to have extension agents that go out and help people in agriculture. So find out where your closest extension agent is for your county, and you want to kind of deal with them. They'll be able to help y'all do different things and stuff like that. They'll help you with those continued education courses. You can find out about how to deal with the brush. I know y'all probably have like a lot of brush and mesquite that's probably not palatable to animals. They'll tell y'all the best way. They'll help y'all clear that out, the best way to clear it out. Is it a controlled burn? And then you want to look at controlled burns. They add to your soil as well, because once you burn it, it'll add that ash, goes back into the soil, and it adds nutrients to your soil. So maybe a controlled burn would be good out in that area. But then you want to look at the weather conditions. Make sure you do it at a certain time. Your county doesn't have a burn ban on and stuff like that. So those are all things that you would do to help kind of add to your soil. That'd be the soil health, and as well as things that you'd be able to find out after you register, get your farm number, you get involved with NRCS, get involved with FSA, and just talk to those people and let them know. When you go into those offices, also ask for a receipt of service. Hey, I'm coming in here. I want to talk to somebody about, and I'm being silly, but I got gum paper on my land. Oh, well, we can't do anything for you. Okay, can you give me just a receipt of service? So they'll give you that you came in there, you asked about XYZ. This was the answer they gave you, and why. And that just shows that they're doing their job. And it also kind of, I don't know if y'all heard about that action suit that they're having, where African American farmers have been turned down about loans disproportionately. But that's kind of like part of that derivative, that agenda to kind of correct that problem. If you get a receipt of service, you can now prove you went in there, you asked about something, and they didn't give you the correct answer. You got a receipt that says, this is what they told me. Is this true? So you want to make sure that you get that receipt of service and do things like that. And I mean, it's kind of helping you protect and get what's due to you, and make sure that you're able to get what's due to you. But then it also puts on you, it'll kind of give you a what do they call it, like a task. These are, because they're going to also tell you, well, you need to do XYZ in order for us to do, ABC. And so it'll give you like a task to do, and make sure that you take care of what needs to be done, and you'll have it in writing. Okay, I did XYZ. Can you help me with ABC now? And so those are things that will be beneficial in becoming registered and working with those projects. A lot of people, because it is USDA, and a lot of them are scared, oh, they're going to take my land, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. My secret to that is, don't get into more than you can handle. You got a $20,000 family transition down to you, all this and that. You go get $100,000 and you don't know how you're going to generate income. Oh, I got this land, I'm just going to use it to get $100,000. Okay, so now how are you going to pay that bill? Then yeah, they're going to take it because you use your land as collateral. But you want to make sure that you have a game plan. Okay, if I get this 100,000, I'm going to buy this many cows. I'm going to use this much to process it. I'm going to use this much to get me in the farmers markets, open up me a brick and mortar. But this is going to be how I generate the income to pay for this, to where my land was beneficial in helping me get this to generate income to pay off this loan to where I can continue to grow and expand on my enterprise. And so that's kind of how you want to look at that. So
That's
the
a lot of
programs
game.
can be beneficial if you use it right.
Something that you said. There's a lot of funding that's hidden in agriculture, and that seems to
Hmm.
be a reoccurring theme on some of these discussions that we've had. And I'm just hoping that we are a small part of encouraging people to dive headfirst into that, or at least take a peek. You know what I mean? Damn, just look over there. Because I feel like we leaving a lot on the table. You know, and that is, yeah, that's unfortunate that our ignorance in that particular area of activity has robbed us of a lot of opportunity. So someone like yourself has certainly become like a true asset for people to and resource for people to tap into. So I definitely anticipate having continued discussion with you as far as like these sort of efforts. Um, does anyone else on the call have any other questions or comments or anything like that? I want to thank you for joining us, bro.
Yeah. Hey, that's it. I don't have any questions, but the same thing, man. That was man a wealth of information. For me, a lot of it was the tail end of it, but then also a lot of what you talked about the soil, because I'm very interested as I grow into agriculture. It's starting at the soil. So when you said that you don't grow cows, you grow soil. I think that if more people had that mindset and looked at the benefit of what having healthy soil does to us globally, um, you could dispel some of these myths that these other people from the other side are trying to put out there, trying to curate to keep people from eating meat or raising meat and processing meat. So, man, thank you, brother, for taking the time. I really do appreciate it. This is a great one.
Thank y'all. I appreciate y'all having me giving an opportunity to put the story out and letting people know.
Yeah, before you leave us, if anyone is like interested and they want more information or just want to get a little more acquainted with you and your business, or if they're interested in purchasing from you, where can they find you?
All right, so you can go to mymark61 cattleco.com, mymark61cattleco.com. That's the website. I have a pay at mymark61cattleco.com if you'd like to go through, place an order. Also, you can contact me directly if you're on Instagram. It is EDAMEAT man, E the meat man, and that's Ebonics, but it's not because my name is Emory Davis. So EDA Emory
Yeah,
Davis,
yeah.
E the meat man. You can check that out on Instagram. You can place an order, ask questions. I'll DM me. I'll answer there. I have Emory at mymark61.com is the email address. You want to send me an email, but everything is mymark61calico.com. Once again, my website. Just reach out, let me know, and like eat meat man on Instagram. So just let me know, and
There you
I'll
go,
try
right
to
there.
answer as many questions as possible. That's it.
In- Indeed. Thank y'all for listening. We're gonna close out with our mission statement, like we always do. At the Growth Spot, we are unified in action to build, protect, and expand a fruitful legacy of love, equity, growth, ancestry, cooperation, and yield. Peace. Till next time, y'all. See
Peace,
y'all.
Thank
man.
y'all. Take care.
Thank you.